Last night was great. What I remember of it.
Right, yeah.
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 rom-com couples who definitely didn't stay together.
Why don't you just shut up?
Have you ever kissed a boy on the mouth?
For this list, we'll be looking at the most notable pairings from romantic comedies who didn't go the distance. Certain plot points will be discussed, so consider this your official spoiler alert. Do you think any of our picks had a shot at happily ever after? Try and convince us in the comments. Number 10, Dion and Murray. Clueless. It's hard not to love Dion and Murray. Cher's best friend and her man are the movie's best example of a committed relationship.
Woman, let me $5.
Murray, I have asked you repeatedly not to call me woman.
Excuse me, Miss Dion.
Thank you.
Yes, they bicker like an old married couple, but it's clear that they genuinely have feelings for each other. Of course, we don't want them to break up, but at the end of the day, they're still in high school, and both young and immature enough to make a mess of things.
Why do you gotta go there?
I've
Why
had
do you
it
gotta
with
go there?
you.
No, is it that time of the month again?
What happens when they head to college miles apart and aren't able to kiss and make up? Plus, the older they become, the more serious and difficult their disagreements will get. Sooner or later, an argument's going to break them. The only question is, could they get back together again?
Want to play games? I'm calling your mother.
Wait, hold up. No. Wait, don't call my mom. No, wait, chill.
Number 9, Lainey and Zach. She's all that. We love a Pygmalion-style plot, and Zach and Lainey make a cute couple.
Can I have the last dance?
No. You can have the first.
She has more self-confidence than your average dorky heroine, and he's got good grades and the potential to go far. But we aren't buying into their future. For starters, they don't have a lot in common, and that'll be even more true in college.
I don't have time for this.
Fine.
I'm leaving.
Fine.
She's headed for art school, while he'll likely end up on the other side of the country at one of the Ivy League establishments he got into. Plus, something tells us the whole he approached her as a bet thing would come up in fights often.
Is that true? My bet?
Maybe they'd keep in touch, but we reckon these unlikely lovers would become a footnote in each other's stories. Number 8, Troy and Gabriella. High School Musical franchise. Are we wrong in thinking that Troy was more committed in this relationship than Gabriella was? Because it feels like she spent a lot of time across the trilogy trying to tell him goodbye.
I gotta go my own way.
The supposedly lovelorn teenager might tell herself she's scared of getting hurt, but maybe her subconscious is trying to tell her something's off. Gabriella is a brainiac with a bright future, and she's ready to leave high school behind, but Troy's not reading the signals.
I'm a lot better at goodbyes than you.
He ultimately decides to follow her to California, choosing a college that's not too far from hers. But as much as it pains us to say, we're not sure their futures include each other in the long run.
My prom is wherever you are.
Number 7, Mike and Abby. The ugly truth. We can't deny that Mike and Abby have chemistry.
You're in love with me. Why?
Beats the shit out of me. But I am.
They challenge each other, they can be themselves, and they have a lot of fun. But is this destined to be a long-term thing? The couple have come a long way by the time they acknowledge their feelings for each other. Mike's no longer the unsympathetic misogynist we met at the beginning of the movie, and Abby's realised that the perfect man is more than a list of desirable qualities. However, he still thinks he knows best, and chauvinism can't be cured overnight.
I love how you assume all men are as perverse as you are.
Oh, I don't assume. I know.
Once they're out of the honeymoon period, we predict it'll all go to pieces.
You entertain millions of people with your moronic ideas, and they love you for it.
I think that may be the nicest thing you ever said to me.
You're welcome.
Number 6, Edward and Vivian. Pretty Woman. Pretty Woman follows the fairy tale romance of a sex worker and a rich businessman who fall in love.
You're late.
You're stunning.
You're forgiven.
And it really is a fairy tale. Vivian's job is a fairly Disney-fied version of the profession, and the movie wraps up with a happily ever after. But how much do these two really know about each other?
It's just that very few people surprise me.
Yeah, well, you're lucky. Most of them shocked the hell out of me.
She's young, luminous, and full of life. He's likeable enough, but much older than her, and let's be honest, kind of a sleaze. So is he really good enough for her? If you ask us, their happy ending was likely short-lived.
So what happened after he climbed up the tower and rescued her?
She rescues him right back.
We hope that after some time with Edward, Vivian parted from her former client as friends and forged a new life for herself. Number 5. Jonathan and Sarah. Serendipity. There is nothing wrong with believing that the universe has a plan for you, but letting fate decide that a virtual stranger is your one true love is kind of unhinged.
Where do you find this place?
I first came in because of the name. Serendipity. It's one of my favourite words.
It is? Why?
It's just such a nice sound for what it means, a fortunate accident.
Jonathan and Sarah meet while Christmas shopping and hit it off. Instead of swapping their info, Sarah comes over all manic pixie dream girl and decides that they should write their details on inanimate objects and send them out into the world instead.
You don't have to understand, you just have to have faith.
Faith in what?
Destiny.
Cut to years later when the plan comes together and both parties ditch their other halves in favour of a more serendipitous union. It's all very romantic, but also super risky. They don't actually know one another.
I'm John.
I'm Sarah.
That's not exactly a foundation for a long-lasting relationship, and something is bound to go wrong. Number 4. Blaine and Andy. Pretty in Pink. In the original, scrapped ending of Pretty in Pink, Andy ends up with her best friend Ducky.
Should we dance?
Wouldn't be unheard of.
That might explain why Blaine feels more like a Mr. Right now than a Mr. Right. The guy who ultimately gets the girl is handsome, rich, and sure, nice enough. But while we don't know much about him as a person, he certainly doesn't seem particularly interesting.
You know, maybe it doesn't happen all the time. It doesn't mean it isn't right? Doesn't mean you can't try.
Andy, meanwhile, is brave, creative, and a true individual. What does she share with this basic popular boy who doesn't even fight for her when it counts?
You didn't have the guts to tell me the truth! Just say it!
I'm not lying.
Tell me!
What?
Tell me!
What do you want to hear?
Just tell me!
What?
You're ashamed to be seen with
No,
me!
I am
You're
not.
ashamed
I
to
am
go out
not.
with me!
We can't see these two lasting past their teen years. Number 3. Bender and Claire. The Breakfast Club. The good girl, bad boy trope is pushed to the limit in this problematic John Hughes classic.
Claire, it's a family name.
Oh, it's a fat girl's name.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm not fat.
Yes, Bender is a product of his difficult upbringing, and Claire is kind of a spoiled princess. It's cool that they want to break out of their societal roles and give in to the obvious attraction they feel for each other.
Why'd you do that?
I knew you wouldn't.
But the way Bender treats Claire throughout the movie is absolutely not okay. She shouldn't have to put up with harassment and misogynistic taunting just because he needs a focus for his anger.
You know why guys like you knock everything?
Oh, this should be stunning.
It's because you're afraid.
Oh, God, you Richies are so smart. That's exactly why I'm not heavy in activities.
Claire would probably try and make the relationship work, but there's no way this ends well. Let's hope for her sake she got out sooner rather than later. Number 2. Ben and Elaine. The Graduate. The iconic ending of The Graduate sees Benjamin and Elaine journeying off on the back of a public bus. Elaine's just left a man at the altar, and Ben's been sleeping with her mother. But for an instant, they look so happy. And then common sense appears to set in. Where will they go? And what will they do? What are they going to live on? And most importantly, do they even like each other that much?
Benjamin, you're... I don't know what to say.
Maybe we can get together sometime and talk about it.
Really incredible.
The relationship so far has involved a lot of tears and arguments and not much romance.
Get out of here.
Don't cry.
Get out! Get out!
From the looks on their faces, both parties are already beginning to regret their decisions.
Within the sound of silence.
Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few honourable mentions. Alex and Sophie, music and lyrics. They've got issues before they even get together.
What would you sing about?
Whatever gets me the job, really.
Oh, that's inspiring.
Danny and Sandy, Grease. A summer romance is all this was meant to be.
What happened to the Danny Zuko I met at the beach?
Well, I do not know. I mean, maybe, maybe there's two of us, right?
Sam and Jake, 16 Candles. Looking back, we can see that he's anything but chivalrous.
What are you doing here?
I heard you were here.
Jimmy and Anne, The Bachelor. Getting married on a time limit? That's not a good start.
You win? Was that a proposal?
Kat and Charlie. Marry me. They have nothing in common and no chemistry either.
I like you.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1. Alison and Ben. Knocked Up. Knocked Up is supposed to be a rom-com. But look at it from another angle, and it's a depressing tale about a woman being trapped in a relationship with a man who barely knows her.
I'm pregnant?
With emotion?
He also doesn't like her and doesn't try to hide it. She's not his biggest fan either. But she got pregnant, so apparently she has to try and make it work, even though their hookup was meant to be a one-time thing.
I like you too.
Sweet.
A little so far.
What century is this? Why can't they just decide to co-parent? To make matters worse, actress Katherine Heigl took a lot of heat when she dared to suggest that the movie might be a little sexist. These characters staying together after the credits roll would be a travesty.
It's the last thing you need to do is just get here!
Look, if you keep yelling at me, I'm never gonna get there. You just need to calm down for 2.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MsMojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.